I know from my own experience with our fund. I mean, we've been running our fund for 14 years, and it's we've run a successful fund. COVID was not a fun time in my business, but nonetheless, what I found was for the first 5 years, no one would give us any money. But then 5 years seemed to be a magical point where all of a sudden everybody wanted to give us money. But now we never dealt with institutions. We're only dealing with high net worths, and maybe you could call some sort of low-end family offices, I suppose. But it did surprise me how often people wouldn't read stuff. And, luckily it was me, right? But they would just hand over the money and they put in more and more.
Well, that's also true, I think. So, I mean, that happens over and over and again with Greensill, not just in the funds that are investing in sort of Greensill sourced loans, but also into Greensill itself, right? So there's a bit in the book where I talk about SoftBank putting their money into Greensill. And, I've seen their due diligence reports. I know exactly what they did. They spent 8 weeks from start to finish, their entire due diligence. They put $800 million in. 8 weeks to decide I'm putting $800 million in is just staggering. And I think if you speak to people there, I mean, in the end, by the way, they put a lot more than that in, a couple of $1 billion probably they end up losing. But in the end, I think what they did was they're following others, right? So they see that another big investor's already gone in, and so they just kind of, well, they probably did their work. And so now I'm in. And I think that's possibly what you're talking about a little bit, right? Is that once there's a sort of level of credibility or perceived credibility, then, investors tend to, their guard comes down a little bit. And so they don't ask the questions. They don't read the documents. They just kind of trust the guy that they've given the money to is a good guy.